Lutvey.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of our amazing podcast and TV show Just As Planned. I am delighted today to have someone who is such a creative genius, and it's Rachel Lake from Rachel Beth Jewellery joining me. So a little bit about Rachel. If you're like me and you know nothing about jewellery and kind of the what goes into making a fabulous piece of jewellery, I think you'll be just as interested as I am in jumping into this chat. But Rachel has established her own company, and before doing that, she honed her skills and nurtured a passion for jewellery, working with esteemed jewellers across Sydney's diverse landscapes. So Rachel worked in jewellers in the Hills area. She was in exclusive Eastern Suburbs and then in the Strand Arcade in the CBD before going out on her own and creating Rachel Beth Jewellery. And really, it was all about bringing to light her passion to design and create bespoke pieces of jewellery that resonate with the unique stories of individuals and couples. I can't wait to hear more, Rachel. Thank you for joining me. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Amanda. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's such a pleasure. So why don't we start? As I said, if like me, people listening really have no idea what goes into being a jeweler, tell us about your journey and how did you decide to start your very own business rather than just work for someone else?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I've been a jeweler for many, many years, for over 20 years. And during that time, I always had a passion for designing jewelry and making jewelry for people. So roughly about 4 or 5 years ago, I decided, why not do it for myself? And it took probably that long to really believe in myself that I could actually do it. Sometimes people say, oh, it's happened overnight, and they don't see the 20 years that it took to actually get there.
It's so true, right? Any entrepreneur journey, there's a lot going on in the years before you're an overnight success. So yes.
Right. So
I love it.
That was my journey.
And so if we start at the beginning of a couple journey with you, choosing the right ring, what advice do you give to couples about even starting the journey of choosing stones and metals for a ring? Where do they even start?
Well, firstly, I always ask what they prefer in terms of colour of the metal. There's always a preference, and if there's not, we work towards that. So it's always about listening and finding out that person's ideal ring. But also, being a jeweler, I always think about durability and things that are going to last a lifetime or longer than a lifetime. But that's always my suggestion, to create rings that are durable, well made, well designed, and that are just going to last that lifetime.
Yeah, for sure. And can I ask you, kind of as an aside, do people don't have to stick to a traditional diamond for an engagement ring, do they?
Oh, definitely not. So over the recent years, I've seen more of a trend that is away from the traditional diamond ring. For instance, I deal with a lot of Australian sapphires. And most people think that Australian sapphires are like the deep, dark blues, but they come in a range of colours, and they're vibrant and they're beautiful. And you can get party sapphires, which are multicoloured. There's just so many options. In terms of, again, durability, I always go for that. My suggestion always for engagement rings or forever rings is either sapphires or diamonds, because they do have that hardness and durability that will last a long time.
Yeah, fantastic. And where do you draw your inspiration from when you're designing engagement and wedding bands to make them unique?
Yeah, that's a good question. Again, finding out the person's individual style, because what's different for one person it always varies between person to person. In designing, you always add that little bit of flair of yourself in there. And so it's just mainly listening to couples' story and drawing inspiration from there, and they're always a starting point. And even if they're like, I can't decide, you just navigate those waters of steering people in the right direction. So.
Yeah, I love that. And I know you love adding special touches to the rings that you make. Can you share a story of when you've added a special touch for someone's ring?
Yeah, of course. So a lot of the time you can add secret messages in wedding bands, and then the couple will find out on the day what that is, which I think is a really beautiful touch. One instance was a few years ago, but a couple added the coordinates of where they actually met on the inside of the ring. And I thought that's so sweet. So everyone has their little secret story that they want to share between themselves, and it's just a nice way of adding that extra personal touch to the rings.
Oh, 100%. I think that's so nice. And, rather than just buying a ring off the shelf kind of thing, but actually having something designed with you and your partner in mind and your story in mind, and having shared that with you must hear some incredible stories. So I love that.
It's such a delight to hear people's story. It's so lovely. You must get that as well in your line of work.
Totally. I usually come along a bit later than you. They've usually got the rock on their finger.
That's true. And they're getting the wedding band.
Yeah, and then they're doing wedding bands. And it's funny, that ring exchange during the ceremony is such a special moment, because it is that moment. If you think about it as well, the ring is the only thing that continues on after the wedding day. Like, the dress, the suits, the flowers. You might have, florals that you can keep forever, but generally speaking, the only thing that you're keeping afterwards is the ring on your finger, right? So it's an important part. It's a really important part. Yeah, and it's interesting.
See every single day, it's very important.
Yeah. So tell us about the favourite piece you've made. And I know it's quite personal to you. We've chatted about this. So tell me about your absolute favourite piece.
Yeah, that's right. So my very favourite piece is probably my it is my own engagement ring, which you can see the making of on my Instagram. You can see how it's made. But I really loved making it, because it's not like I always make for other people and interpret what they want. And when it came to time to make my engagement ring, it was so hard to decide exactly what I wanted, and I was probably the worst customer for myself. But I loved making it, and my husband, he went with me to pick out a stone from one of my suppliers, and it was just a really lovely experience as well.
Do you have a lot of people coming to you with a stone, or do they come to you? Is it the other way around? They come and chat first, and then you go looking for a stone?
Oh, look, both, but mainly they chat first, and then I find the stone for them. Sometimes there's like heirloom pieces that a couple have, like a great grandmother's stone, and the most interesting story I've heard is it was a stone that was it was during a wartime, and it was actually sewn into one of the paintings, and later on the family went back to get it, and it was still there. This is the history of this particular stone, and I was like, oh my goodness. It's pretty amazing. But yeah, some of the stories you hear about like heirloom stones and in general, stories. It's just such a beautiful thing to be able to share. And I guess you would find the same thing of sharing in people's journeys in these beautiful moments.
Absolutely. So, okay, so we've got the ring, we've decided what we want, we've made it. What about on the wedding day? What are a jeweler's tips for making sure that your rings are ready to go before ceremony?
Yeah, very important. I would highly suggest that you get your rings professionally cleaned as close as you can to the day, and you just ask your jeweler what specific lead times they have. And another suggestion would be to try your wedding bands on before the day. I know there's some people are very superstitious, and I totally get that. But on the day, you don't want the rings not to go on, and I'm sure you've seen that before, where they're just so nervous, or their hands are so clammy that they get so hot that the rings won't go on. But it's best to check it before, and then you can always adjust it. So. Yeah,
totally. Yeah. And it's you often have those moments at the ring exchange where the bride's trying to push the groom's ring over their knuckle and all of that. It can actually make for some good comedy, but
it's great for the comedy. But if you wanted to check it beforehand, avoid the stressful moment, then I would
100%
get your rings professionally cleaned. Sure.
Yeah, I love that idea, and they're really sparkly then, and especially for your photos. And I know a lot of photographers will take the close-ups of the rings and that kind of thing in a flat lay beforehand and all of that. So yeah, beautiful.
And it's best to once it's cleaned, potentially not wear it until the day, because it's probably best to do that as well.
Yes. Actually, it's funny, for my wedding we had a surprise wedding. And I didn't have my engagement ring on. It was my birthday party. Long story short, I didn't have my engagement ring on because I actually had it like soldered with my wedding band. So of course I had the two of them ready to go for the surprise wedding, and all my girlfriends are coming up going, "Where's your ring? Why aren't you wearing your ring?" Because I always wear my engagement ring, and it was, I just left it upstairs. But then we put both on together. So yeah, it's funny. I think you can do so many different things. And I even spoke to a bride to be on the weekend, and she didn't realize that your wedding band goes on first. And so we were talking about what you can do with your engagement ring and all of that. And it's interesting. It's really interesting.
I completely forgot to move my engagement ring when I was down the end of the aisle. I had some heavy flowers in my hand, and like behind the flowers, I casually trying to act like I'm not doing anything, moved my ring. Yeah. It's
it's an interesting one, right? And then what about daily care of your ring? Like, I know I have my rings are blue topaz, and I'm forever having to get it clean because it's always dirty, it just feels like. But what do you recommend? How often do you get them cleaned at the jeweler? Like all of that stuff.
Look, I'd recommend once a year that you at least go to your jeweler and just get it checked, because sometimes, it's just like a car service. You just need to make sure that the stones are all, the claws are all tight, or the whatever setting it's in is all nicely tightened. And also, just clean the stones and that. But you can actually get a toothbrush dedicated for your rings. Scrub the underneath of the stones with warm soapy water. It's not going to hurt the stone. And then rinse it nicely, and then dry it with a clean cloth. And you'll notice it just like the stone will just look amazing. That's just like a little tip for those in between times. And
I am going to do that straight after this. Yeah, I love that, because it's you want your ring to look amazing. And your concern is, oh my God, what if I damage it?
It's soft toothbrush dedicated for the ring. It's not going to harm it. So
excellent. We've heard it from the jeweler. Okay, I'm happy with that. So talk to me about trends, because everyone's talking, at the beginning of a new year, everyone talks about what's trending for 2024. What are you seeing? What are you seeing? Bigger rings, smaller rings? What's going on? What are you seeing?
Yeah, right. So I'd say, yeah, like I said before, the more of a trend towards the sapphires rather than, or gemstones rather than your traditional diamond. Yeah, that would be the main trend, I'd say. So there's, yeah, that's what
What about
I'm seeing.
shapes? Are people doing anything different shape-wise, or has that always been quite diverse?
Look, ovals are really like the oval shaped stone is always has been very popular the last number of years, but I'm seeing a lot more like emerald cuts and radiant cuts, so very square, like your rectangular shapes rather than your fluid ovals or rounds.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
I'm seeing a lot of that lately. So
Interesting.
yeah, it just depends on the person, but yeah, there's more of a move towards, other shapes, and I think people are just not scared to venture out now and try something new with their rings.
Yeah.
So it's exciting for me because I get to see all these beautiful rings people are getting made, and yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and do something different. Don't be afraid to do something different. Hey,
Yeah.
so I love it. And because that's the thing, if you're going to be wearing this for the rest of your life, you really want to make sure you really love it. So yeah,
Oh,
it's
definitely, definitely.
yeah.
I had a gentleman uh, pick up a ring the other day, and he's like, "Is it going to date?" And I'm like, "Look, it's your style, so how is that going to date?
Mm,
It's something that you both designed together.
mm,
I don't think that dates. Maybe it might need a
totally.
tweak, in 20 years, but you know, it's something personal, so I don't think that dates.
Yeah, I don't either. And I think when you look back, like, I've got one of my grandmother's rings, and it's absolutely beautiful for what it is, for that antique style of ring. It's absolutely gorgeous. So yeah, it's I think I agree with you. In 100 years' time, hopefully people are looking back at our rings now and going, "Wow, that's such a beautiful piece." So yeah,
At
I
my
love that.
significant moment as well, so it's yeah, it's a lovely thing to do.
Yeah, totally. So, look, I do want to ask you before we kind of get on to how people find you, but what do you love about what you do? You obviously are passionate about jewelry and being a jeweler, to go out on your own, to actually spread your wings and, I suppose, jump out from the safety net of working for a big jewelry store or a
Yeah.
jewelry company, to do it for yourself. Like, you must love it.
Oh, I absolutely love it. And it was at a time just before COVID hit, when I was like, yep, I'm going to do it, and I did it. And then COVID hit. I'm like, oh, I really have to make this work now. 'Cause and it kind of forced me to just really be creative with, how I did things, and I think people were much more um, uh, okay to be online and do things remotely.
Yeah,
So it's really kind of allowed me to spread my wings in that sense of seeing, yeah, there's not necessarily, you don't have to walk in anymore. You can you can operate remotely, and yeah, it's just made it easy for me. But I really, yeah, but I mean, what better job where you can enjoy people's special moments and create something beautiful for them, and yeah, it's a
yeah.
lovely time to share, like you do as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love it. So tell us, so how do couples find you? Because you don't just deal, as you just said, you can be online, they can be anywhere really, and come to you to make a ring. So where do couples find you, and how would they find out about working with you?
Yeah, great. So you can find me on Instagram, Rachel Beth Jewellery, or on my website. I've got pages on there where you can like send your details through, and then I also meet clients personally as well. So if there are those customers who just want to meet me face to face, that's also possible as well.
Yeah.
So I've got the best of both options.
I love that. I love that. And now I know that you had a super special offer for anyone listening. Did you want to tell us about that?
Yeah. Oh, I'm so excited to share it. So anyone listening to the Just As Planned podcast and TV series, if you mention that to me, then you get $200 off your next purchase. There are terms and conditions, which you'll see on my website. But yeah, it's just a very special offer for all of the lovely listeners out there.
I love that so much, and we are so grateful. So thank you for that beautiful offer for our listeners. And so we will put more on that on all of our socials when we launch this episode. And it's been such a delight to talk to you, Rachel. It's really interesting. We get the opportunity through this podcast to talk to so many people related to weddings in some way. And and as I said to you, it's really interesting to hear from a jeweler's point of view. And I love the idea that you can have something bespoke, that it's not just something off the shelf. It's designed just for you. It's got your special touches. And I just love what you do. It's fabulous.
Oh, thank you. It's been such a pleasure to be on here with you and chat to you.
Yeah, thank you. And everyone, please have a look at Rachel's Instagram. I fell in love with all of your work and your videos and watching what you do behind the scenes as well. So thank you so much for sharing everything with us. And don't forget to mention the Just As Planned podcast and TV show to Rachel when you book in for your consult to get your personal rings made. So to access that special offer. But Rachel, thank you so much. Everyone, I'll see you next time. And Rachel, we look forward to following you online and seeing what you're up to next. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Just As Planned Weddings podcast. Please like and subscribe to let us know that you want more videos just like this one. And of course, please follow us on our socials at Just As Planned Wedding on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube for more expert insights to help your wedding go just as planned.